Welcome to the third video of the niyamas. This is tapas, or self-discipline. This is one of my favorite ones, actually, and I find it extremely interesting, in large part because I find, or have found rather, that my capacity of self-discipline has largely affected the outcome of my life. And so I think it's further interesting to dive into this topic a little bit and explore exactly what it means to us as people in the world and as yoga practitioners. Aspect one we'll call the lessons of life. This is about how your difficulties, your challenges, about how these things transform you into who you are. And I like to think of the analogy of steel, the metal, steel. Molten steel is poured into a mold or into a cast, and this generates a general shape. We are all cast into the mold of a human. Now, then the cast of steel is plunged into fire, where afterwards it is beaten, hammered into a sword, into a utensil, or into a tool, and then it becomes useful. In the same way, your experiences, your mistakes, and even the harm bequeathed upon you through the actions of others have transformed you into who you are. This transformation has made you completely unique and valuable through that uniqueness. You can step into your path and teach others so that they can learn from your mistakes in only a way that you can offer from your direct and unique experience. You can teach others if you're willing to, or you can choose to become a victim by the enormity of it all. Through the things that happen to us in life, they can become very heavy if we don't act upon the lessons that we receive from the heaviness of them. Now, if you're over 30 years old, certainly by now you have experienced something that is potentially very traumatic for you. If you're under 30 or otherwise very lucky, just wait. You'll get your turn. This is not a race to receive. Your hard lessons are coming. They are inevitable. Yet, interestingly, every organization, nonprofit that exists today that has a mission of helping others for whatever reason, whatever their purpose, whatever their mission is, every organization that exists in this capacity exists because something very shitty happened to somebody at some point in time. And then someone has taken it upon themselves to help others experiencing the same harm, the same loss, the same troubles. Someone has chosen to bring their hard lessons to the table so that others can learn from their lessons, so that they can help others from this unique experience. We are able to generate great things from our experiences and from our hardships. Now, I'll pose the question, what has life taught you so far? This is rhetorical. We don't have to answer it any further. And in fact, I'm going to bring this down a notch because this topic can be extremely heavy, especially if the trauma that you've experienced is recent and still heavy on your heart. But let's look at the same topic of tapas, of self-discipline, of this idea of transformation through challenge and through fire. And let's explore aspect two of this, which is the lessons that we receive from our practice. There is so much to be learned from showing up on our mats day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, and eventually decade after decade. Half of the battle in life is just showing up with a willingness to work. Are you showing up to the responsibilities that you have to face? Are you bringing your unique experiences, your lessons into what you're doing? These will allow you to blossom into your fullest potential. At the time of this recording, I am entering into my 15th year of consistent yoga practice. And if there's one thing that I've learned after 15 years of consistent practice, it's that I would much rather sleep in, play video games, or even daydream as opposed to getting on my mat every single day. Now, I say some of this in jest, somewhat jokingly, but not entirely. Without fail, to this day, there is a voice in my head that tries to talk me out of practicing every day, or tries to talk me into shortening the sequence that I had planned for myself, or skipping some poses, or making it easier on myself. And I have this internal conversation with myself every single time. There is a deep lesson to be learned through fighting through these internal dialogues, to showing up on your mat even when you don't feel like it, through pushing and forcing yourself to do things that you don't necessarily want to do, but you know that they are good for you if you are to show up and do them. Now, I love all kinds of yoga. I do appreciate yin. I do appreciate restorative yoga. But I also know that my body needs to be pushed a little if it is to remain strong and healthy. My mind needs to be exercised as well to remain sharp and focused. So we have to ask ourselves, are we someone who avoids challenge? Or in the same regard, are we somebody who avoids challenging physical practice? I hope that there's not a correlation between avoiding challenging practices and avoiding challenging things in life. I think it is essential to push ourselves, and this is something that is relative to each of our practice. When I talk about challenging yourself in practice, I'm not talking about comparing yourself to me or to that person on Instagram or to your other teachers. I'm just talking about showing up on your mat and not simply opting into the stuff that you find easy, but willingly stepping into the things that you find challenging also. When we practice showing up on our mats and putting in the effort there, we are directly training ourselves to show up in our lives, to our jobs, in our relationships, and to put the effort in there as well. Pay attention to your daily choices. Are you making choices that are indulgent, or are you making choices that build your strength and build your character? Listen to your inner voice and make choices that prepare you for the heat of life, and be prepared to be transformed by the heat of those efforts. Tapas.